Are you at the point now where you just feel like you've caught your mom in so many lies that you don't even know why she lies, you just know she does?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
I don't think Mari's mine at all.
You don't?
No, ma'am.
Tell me why.
I mean, if you want to first, you could bring up, I don't see him in me. Like, I don't see me in him. Like, that, he doesn't look at all like me.
You generally don't expect your neighbor to also be your possible father, but that's exactly what's happening today on Paternity Court. Ms. Lindsey believes that after 35 long years of confusion, lies, and mixed up family stories, she's finally about to find out who her real dad is. She's convinced it's her mother's old friend, Mr. Dannenbrink, the man who's lived right next door. Her mom insists otherwise, but today, Judge Lake is ready to end the mystery once and for all.
That's right, Your Honor. I met her and we just had like a hit and run situation. She disappeared on me and then we got back together again, and a couple days later she went her way, and it just kept on for years that way. And there's no way she could be my daughter, Your Honor.
Right away, Ms. Lindsey takes the stand with decades of hurt in her voice. She says everyone in town, literally everyone, has whispered that Mr. Dannenbrink is her father. Imagine growing up hearing that rumor and seeing the guy at the grocery store. Mr. Dannenbrink admits he did have a relationship with her mom, but swears there's no way he's her dad. You can already feel the tension brewing. Judge Lake wastes no time cutting straight to it. What do you mean everyone in town knows he's your father?
And an ex of Mr. Dannenbrink's comes to your house and says you're the child that your mother had with Mr. Dannenbrink.
Yes, Your Honor.
Apparently, when she was just 16, one of Mr. Dannenbrink's exes showed up at her house, yes, his ex, and accused her of being the child he'd had with her mom. Talk about teenage trauma. Ms. Lindsey ran to her mother for answers, but her mom said, no, he's not your father. To make it worse, she gave her another man's name entirely, a man she's never met to this day. The confusion on her face says it all. This story's been haunting her since high school.
But I was too nervous to approach him for pretty much rejection. And so I just left it alone. And then my mother and him had started talking again, and we became more close, I guess you would say.
Years later, Ms. Lindsey says they all ended up at the same church. Can we pause for that? Imagine seeing your maybe dad at Sunday service, just humming through hymns. She says she was too scared to approach him, afraid of rejection. But fate had jokes. Her mom and Mr. Dannenbrink reconnected, moved next door to each other, and suddenly they were having barbecues and holidays together. The man next door might actually be her father. Only on Paternity Court, folks.
I did not, Your Honor. She never told me that she was pregnant. She never told me I even had a child.
You didn't
Your
tell
Honor,
him you were
Your
pregnant?
Honor, I had no reason to tell him because he's not the father.
When Judge Lake questions Ms. Hampton about her relationship with Mr. Dannenbrink, things get spicy. Ms. Hampton calls it a platonic friendship, but then casually admits they dated off and on in the late 70s. Mr. Dannenbrink, meanwhile, claims he had no clue she was ever pregnant. Ms. Hampton quickly snaps back that she didn't tell him because he's not the father. You can practically feel Judge Lake's eyes narrow. This courtroom is one emotional roller coaster waiting to take off.
What is this calendar outline?
This calendar shows, for one, the day that I was born. And if you count back, if I was born full term, the conception would be between May and June.
Then comes the Paternity Court special, the calendar. You already know, when someone pulls out a calendar, the tea's about to spill. Ms. Lindsey lays out her timeline, her birth date, conception window, and all. She insists the doctors said she was born early, but at a healthy weight. Her mom insists she was premature. Judge Lake studies that calendar like it's a crime scene. And the tension between these two women? Whew, thicker than courtroom air has any right to be.
Yes. It was back in the 70s, so I'm sure you understand what...
No, I was just a kid then, so...
I did a lot of drugs back then, so I really couldn't tell you.
Oh, so hectic has many levels.
Mr. Dannenbrink admits that back in the 70s, life was hectic. Translation: he barely remembers anything. He even confesses he was doing drugs at the time. Judge Lake leans in and says, "So hectic has many levels, huh?" The gallery chuckles, but it's clear she's serious. When she asks if he had a lot of sex back then, he nods without hesitation. "Yes, Your Honor. I mean, at least he's honest." Judge Lake calls it bump and go, and everyone bursts into laughter.
Is that a legal term that we just created here, Paternity Court? Okay, so Ms. Lindsey, your mother's saying that Mr. Dannenbrink is not your biological father.
Ms. Lindsey then reveals why she doesn't believe her mom's story. And honestly, you can't blame her. Ms. Hampton once claimed Ms. Lindsey had an older sister, then changed it to a younger one. Turns out that sister was actually a stillborn baby she said was Mr. Dannenbrink's. But Ms. Lindsey says there's zero proof. She's never seen a death record, never seen an autopsy. Judge Lake's face? Priceless. It's that look that says, ma'am, you better make this make sense.
At birth.
Yes, Your Honor, I had a stillborn.
And was that Mr. Dannenbrink's child?
She never said nothing to me about that.
I admit that I did not.
You never mentioned it to him?
No.
Then Ms. Lindsey delivers the heartbreak. Her mom lied before about an entire baby. She confesses that years ago, her mom had another child, gave him up for adoption, and then claimed he had died. The courtroom goes silent. Judge Lake is stunned. The audience gasps, and Ms. Lindsey's voice cracks as she says, I just don't understand why. It's pure heartbreak on display. The betrayal, the lies, decades of confusion bubbling up in one moment.
It went through social media that he found me, and I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? You're not my brother. And I called my mom at that time, and I said, I have another brother?
As if that wasn't enough, Ms. Lindsey reveals her childhood best friend was Mr. Dannenbrink's son. Judge Lake literally stops her mid-sentence. Wait, you mean your best friend could be your brother? Ms. Lindsey nods, embarrassed but honest. The thought haunts her, she says. The idea that she might have unknowingly befriended or even dated someone related to her. Judge Lake sums it up perfectly. If you don't know who your father is, you could have dated your brother. Mic drop moment.
And say, Mr. Dannenbrink is not your biological father.
I don't know, I'm not my mom, so I don't know exactly what goes through her head.
Next, Ms. Lindsey shares the sweetest yet saddest twist. Mr. Dannenbrink is like a father to her now. She says he calls her my beautiful daughter, and her kids call him grandpa. You can't help but smile through the sadness. He may not know if she's his biological child, but he's been there like one. The irony hits hard. She's found the fatherly love she's always wanted, even before the DNA results come in. The emotional tension is unbearable.
You could have dated your brother.
Yes.
And it's just that simple.
Yeah.
And so you have a photo that you've submitted to the court.
Then comes the letter. Oh, this one hits deep. Ms. Lindsey reads, I've walked through this life wondering who I am, whose blood runs through me, and who would have been proud of me. Her voice cracks, and Judge Lake gently tells her, that was honest and true and simple. Even Mr. Dannenbrink gets misty-eyed. You can feel the 35 years of pain, confusion, and longing spilling into that one letter. The entire courtroom sits in silence.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Dannenbrink, you are not her father.
Sorry.
Finally, cue the drum roll. The DNA results are in. Judge Lake reads slowly, in the case of Lindsey versus Dannenbrink, you are not the father. The courtroom gasps. Ms. Lindsey's face falls in heartbreak. But then, the most beautiful thing happens. Mr. Dannenbrink turns to her and says, it doesn't matter. She's still my daughter. You can hear sniffles across the courtroom. In one sentence, he shows that biology doesn't define love. The crowd is in tears.
Mr. Whistler, you claim you currently owe almost $21,000 in back child support.
Yes, Your Honor.
Imagine being told by doctors that you could never have children, and then suddenly getting hit with a $21,000 child support bill. That's exactly what brings Mr. Whistler to paternity court today. He's convinced the state of Missouri has it wrong, and that he's paying for a child that biologically can't be his. But Ms. Frazier, the child's mother, insists it's time he just got over it. Judge Lake's face already says it all. This one's going to get heated.
Ms. Frazier, you admit you've always known the plaintiff may not be your son's biological father.
Mr. Whistler wastes no time explaining his frustration. He's been paying child support for 18 years, all while only bringing home $70 a week after garnishments. You can practically hear the exhaustion in his voice. He tells Judge Lake that years ago, doctors told him he couldn't have kids. But Ms. Frazier fires back fast. I never asked for child support, she says. These two are going at it like it's round one in a verbal boxing match.
Unable to have children.
So the doctors told you you weren't
Yes, Your Honor.
able to have children due to a medical...
Judge Lake, calm but curious, asks Ms. Frazier directly if she told Mr. Whistler he was the father when she got pregnant. Ms. Frazier admits she told him she was pregnant, but says he denied the child immediately. Then, plot twist. She says she listed another man's name on all the paperwork. But Mr. Whistler insists she's lying, claiming she wanted the baby to have his last name. The tension is thick enough to slice with a gavel.
Other guy signed
What
the
about the birth certificate? What about the birth certificate?
Mr. Whistler says he was there for the birth and even signed the birth certificate, believing 100% the baby was his. But then, 6 months later, Ms. Frazier allegedly confessed there might be another man. The betrayal still burns. "I can't go on with my life," he says, shaking his head. You can feel 18 years of resentment building. Judge Lake reminds him to be respectful, but you can tell he's just seconds away from exploding.
If it's his kid, he should be standing up for it. Why am I reliable to pay?
When Judge Lake asks about the child support payments, Mr. Whistler pulls out paperwork like a man on a mission. He waves a letter from the state of Missouri showing $20,850 in past due support. Ms. Frazier insists she's never received a dime. You can see Judge Lake narrowing her eyes. Someone's lying, or the system's broken. That just doesn't add up, Mr. Whistler says. And honestly, he's right. The math isn't mathing.
Okay, so if you were getting assistance from the state, they're going to then follow up with the father, the legal father
Yes.
of record,
And I am lucky
to pay them back.
Then comes the legal bombshell. Because Mr. Whistler signed the birth certificate, Judge Lake confirms he's the legal father under Missouri law. He looks devastated, muttering, "I thought it was my child." The audience murmurs in sympathy. This poor man's been paying for nearly 2 decades for a kid who might not even be his. The courtroom is silent. Everyone's realizing how serious this has become.
Ms. Owsley, thank you for joining us. Your relationship to Mr. Whistler is?
Fiance.
What do you know about this situation?
I've been doing some research.
Enter Miss Owsley, Mr. Whistler's fiance. She's come armed with research about child support penalties, worried her man could actually go to jail. She tells Judge Lake she's terrified someone's going to come knocking at the door to take him away. You can see the fear in her eyes. Mr. Whistler nods, saying he's seen men arrested for owing far less than he does. The man looks trapped and desperate for today's test to free him.
You signed the birth certificate willingly.
Yes, you know, I was under the impression that could have been the only person.
But Judge Lake reminds him he signed that birth certificate voluntarily. He admits he did, saying he believed he was the only possible father. Then he drops a heartbreaking story. Right after the birth, he borrowed money from his boss to buy Ms. Frazier a ring and propose to her. She accepted but said, "Not right now." You can feel his heartbreak through the screen. 18 years later, he's still paying, financially and emotionally.
Dallas is now 18 years old.
Yes, he is. Yes, Your Honor.
Have you tried to develop any type of relationship
Yes,
with
Your Honor, numerous times.
When Judge Lake asks if he's tried to build a relationship with the child, Mr. Whistler insists he has, over and over. He says he drove 300 miles to visit, only to be turned away every time. Ms. Frazier cuts in sharply. He never changed one diaper. The courtroom gasps. Whistler fires back. "I was at work all day." The back and forth is pure chaos, and you can tell Judge Lake's patience is wearing thin.
That I had called previously and asked you.
Ms. Frazier admits she's tried for years to get the state to test the other possible father, but they never followed through. "I can't afford it," she says tearfully. Mr. Whistler rolls his eyes, muttering, "Yeah, the state of Missouri can." You can feel the bitterness. Then he points to the paperwork again, that cursed $21,000 number hanging over his head like a ghost. Judge Lake looks ready to bring this to order fast.
And so if he is your son,
I
do
will
you
step
want
up to the
develop?
plate.
Judge Lake asks Mr. Whistler if he thinks the child looks like him. He proudly shows photos saying, "I see a lot of resemblance." Despite all his anger, his voice softens. It's clear he loves this boy. He even says, "If he's mine, I'll step up to the plate." That sincerity hits hard. For a man told he could never have kids, even the possibility that he's a dad means everything.
Do you believe Mr. Whistler is your biological father?
As I was growing up, I did believe.
Finally, the young man himself, Dallas, walks into the courtroom. He's polite, respectful, and clearly nervous. Judge Lake asks if he believes Mr. Whistler is his father. Dallas says, "I did growing up, but I was always told it could be someone else." That line alone? Gut punch. This poor kid's been caught between 2 stories his entire life. The courtroom mood instantly shifts from tension to heartbreak.
Be someone else. And nothing's been done about that for 18 years.
She has tried to, but Missouri has not.
Dallas explains that he's met the other man before, even called him dad once to get his attention, but it never stuck. He tells Judge Lake that he's always called Mr. Whistler dad, all the time. He says proudly, that moment hits everyone hard. Mr. Whistler nods with tears in his eyes, realizing this young man, no matter the outcome, sees him as a father figure. Talk about emotional whiplash.
But if Dallas is your biological son, understand, then you are rightfully responsible.
And always have.
Judge Lake explains to both parties that since Mr. Whistler signed the birth certificate, he's still legally responsible for the child support debt, regardless of what the DNA says. You can see the anxiety flood back into Mr. Whistler's face, but he nods and says, I understand, Your Honor. His fiancée squeezes his hand. The truth may bring closure, but it won't erase the pain.
Mr. Whistler, you are not his father.
Finally, cue the drum roll. Judge Lake opens the envelope and reads, in the case of Whistler versus Frazier, Mr. Whistler, you are not the father. The courtroom gasps. Dallas looks stunned, but in an instant, Mr. Whistler turns to him, tears welling up, and says, that doesn't change my love for you. Dallas replies softly, I still love you too. You can practically hear the whole audience sniffling.
Ms. Marks McGee, you say the defendant needs to step up and take responsibility for your 2-year-old son, Amari, because you know he is your son's biological father. Is that correct?
It takes about 3 weeks to fall into a situationship, and that's exactly what happened here. Judge Lake opens the case of Marks McGee versus Wright, where Ms. Marks McGee says Mr. Wright needs to step up for 2-year-old Amari because she knows he's the father. Mr. Wright fires back that she didn't even tell him about the baby until he was 3 weeks old, and he's certain he's not the dad. The energy is tense, fast, and messy. Classic paternity court ignition point.
No, that's not true. I mean, I did tell a couple lies, play a mean game. However, I know that Mr. Wright is Amari's father, and I just want the truth to be out so that my son can get to know his family. And
Ms. Marks McGee admits she told a couple lies, played a mean game, but insists Mr. Wright is Amari's father and says she wants the truth so her son can know his family. Then she lays out the whirlwind. It started as a rebound. Feelings grew. They had sex a week after meeting and, wait for it, she let him move in a couple of weeks later. 1 month in and he's already on the lease of her heart. Things move fast, and now the stakes feel even faster.
I didn't have feelings in the beginning because I had, you know what I'm saying, when I first met it, I was introduced to her by a friend. In the beginning, she was telling a lot of lies, that I always picked up on,
Mr. Wright admits he moved in while in a vulnerable place. He says he'd left, came back, didn't have much, and ended up in a relationship, and in the house. Judge Lake zeroes in. Was this a real relationship, or I just need a place to stay? He says relationship, but the subtext is loud. Need met feelings, feelings met convenience, and convenience met responsibility. That blend often brews doubt, and you can see it all over his face as he recounts it.
Well, she always used to joke around saying that she was pregnant a lot. Like she said it plenty of times. Like she would joke about it and be like, nah, I'm not pregnant. Then I'm pregnant. To the point where it's just like, now I'm back in my mind like, oh, she's always lying when she's talking about that,
Here comes the spark to his skepticism. Mr. Wright says she joked about being pregnant plenty of times, which made him stop believing her. Judge Lake calls it out with that surgical wit, the girl who cried pregnant. Ouch. That line lands because it matches his experience, jokes, mixed signals, and uncertainty stacked high. He's not sure what to believe anymore, and you can feel him bracing for whichever truth shows up in that envelope later.
I really found out that I was pregnant. I wasn't feeling myself. I know how I feel, when I'm pregnant. I'm a female. I've had a child before. I've had kids before. When the time came,
Ms. Marks McGee explains she took a test the morning they were moving out, October 1st, and it was positive. Then she saw a social media mess. Another woman claiming Mr. Wright got her pregnant. She broke it off, told him she would get rid of the baby, and yes, she admits she lied. She even says he later saw her big and pregnant around 5 to 6 months. Talk about messy. This is exactly the kind of history that can turn co-parenting into a battlefield.
Okay.
Apparently, she started messing with somebody else, and that's who she tried to put the baby off on.
Oh, in the beginning, she told someone else they were the child's father?
Mr. Wright says that after they left the apartment, contact basically stopped. He claims she started messing with somebody else and tried to put the baby off on that guy. Ms. Marks McGee clarifies she told Mr. Wright he was the father, but the someone else was the ex she was trying to get over when she even started with Mr. Wright. Translation, the triangle was real, the timing was tight, and everyone's trust meters were already blinking red.
You truly don't know.
I don't know at all. Like, I don't know what to believe right now. It's too many lies around it. It's just too many lies around this whole situation. You know about like how a female got a little girl code, right?
Girl code, okay.
Mr. Wright sums up the vibe. Too many lies around this whole situation. Then he launches into the girl code bit. Nonverbal signals, insider lingo, all the unspoken stuff friends used to talk. It's funny for a second, but he's building to a point. He thinks he cracked a code that proves there was someone else. Judge Lake tracks him, amused but focused. I'm listening, and so is the entire gallery, ready for the receipts.
Okay, so you got her phone.
All right, it just so happened on this specific day, she was in the phone a lot, you know, and I was like, what's going on? What she got going on in the phone? So when I finally had the chance to grab it, you know, as if I was playing the game or something.
The text message sting. Mr. Wright says he texted one of her friends as her, opening with, "Girl, this guy acting up." The friend replies, "Who?" And he takes that as a tell. He keeps going in character, and then, boom, a whole different name popped up. Ms. Marks McGee doesn't deny the moment. She concedes it happened and admits she was texting others and sexually engaging in messages, but insists Mr. Wright was the only man she had sexual intercourse with during conception time.
If she did have something to hide, usually people that have something to hide in their phone, they don't give you their phone to play a game.
She didn't give it to her.
Oh!
She set it down while she was watching TV.
Oh, you picked it up.
Confrontation time. Mr. Wright asks, "Who is this guy?" She says a friend from way back. She also describes him getting angry, punching holes in my wall with his head, and says many people didn't know about Mr. Wright because she had drama with friends about her ex. The takeaway, secrecy, anger, and confusion swirled around this relationship, prime fuel for paternity doubt. Judge Lake keeps the train on the track and marches them back to why they're actually here.
I got the proof, the looks. My son has his mouth, eyes. I have big eyes. Amari has beady eyes like his father.
Ms. Marks McGee argues resemblance and exclusivity. Amari has Mr. Wright's mouth and eyes, beady eyes like his father, and she says Mr. Wright was the only man she had sexual intercourse with during the conception window. Mr. Wright flatly disagrees. He doesn't see me in him, says there was too much going on, and claims after the birth she'd disappear, not answer, say she was at work when they say she's never came in. The trust deficit is doing numbers here.
As it relates to the paternity and why we're here today, I hope you understand that it's really about the lying. And it's gotten to the point now where he doesn't believe.
Judge Lake states the obvious. At this point, he doesn't believe anything she says because of the lying. Ms. Marks McGee counters that he still plays daddy and says their son cries for him and calls him daddy. Mr. Wright says he won't leave a child without a dad, even if he feels like disappearing because of who he is, and shares his father was killed when he was 12. That line quiets the room. It's the deepest reason he's here. Answers before the bond grows deeper.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Wright, you are not his father.
Cue the drum roll. Results in hand, Judge Lake reads, "In the case of Marks McGee versus Wright, when it comes to 2-year-old Amari, Mr. Wright, you are not his father." The air is vacuumed right out of the courtroom. Mr. Wright is stunned. Then he finds his voice. He built a bond, and ain't nothing gonna change. That's my little boy. It's a gut punch reveal with a strangely tender aftertaste. Biology lost, but care, connection, and responsibility still fighting to remain.
Ms. Davis, you say that after accepting your daughter Autumn, Mr. Cole abruptly ended your relationship, moved out of your home, and is now denying her.
Imagine being in love, signing your baby's birth certificate, and then having random classmates tell you she might not be yours. That's exactly the chaos we've walked into today on Paternity Court. Ms. Davis says Mr. Cole was her one and only, and that he needs to stop denying their daughter, Autumn. But Mr. Cole's not buying it. He's heard rumors, seen messages, and he's just here for one thing, the truth. You can feel the tension before Judge Lake even finishes her intro.
How does it feel knowing Mr. Cole is denying your daughter?
I feel hurt, angry, disappointed how he all of a sudden not claiming my daughter. He is the only man that I've been with since February.
Ms. Davis says she's heartbroken. He's the only man I've been with since February, she insists, voice shaking. But Mr. Cole calmly says he does help with the baby, buying diapers, clothes, everything, but still questions paternity. He claims people keep texting and confronting him about her. Random people walking up asking me stuff, he tells Judge Lake. You can see it in his face. This man wants to believe, but the doubt is eating him alive.
Yes, I had met Mr. Cole at a basketball game, a homecoming game, and we had Google eyes with each other. We had changed numbers, and we had chill a couple times.
Ms. Davis recalls how it all started at a high school basketball game. We made googly eyes, she laughs nervously. A few hangouts later, they started sleeping together, and by late March, she was 4 weeks pregnant. Judge Lake checks her calendar like a detective piecing a timeline together. So, you were only with him in February and March? Yes, Your Honor, she replies confidently. But that confidence is about to get tested hard.
I went to school like a week later, and someone walked up to me. She wasn't even pregnant that long, and people were walking up to me saying that the baby might not be mine.
Oh.
And then after a guy wrote her.
Mr. Cole says everything changed a week later at school. A guy walked up to me and said, "That baby might not be yours." You can practically hear the gasps in the courtroom. Then, another man texted Ms. Davis angrily, saying it could be his child. The plot thickens. Judge Lake leans in, eyebrows raised. So this was someone upset because he wasn't told about the pregnancy? Ms. Davis nods but insists, "He was from before. I stopped messing with him in January." Convenient timing.
Yes, ma'am. And I was just start asking her questions about the guy. She didn't give me any credible answers that I could believe. So I was really having doubts, and I wanted to go get a DNA test myself.
Mr. Cole says he tried asking questions, but nothing she said added up. He even wanted a DNA test, but couldn't get one. "They wouldn't let me because I signed the birth certificate," he explains. Judge Lake pauses, processing that. Turns out he was at the hospital, present for the birth, but she didn't wake him to sign the certificate. Why? Because she'd seen messages on his phone saying he wasn't sure the baby was his. Talk about a communication breakdown.
I have reasons why I did not wake him up to sign the birth certificate. So after I had Adam, a couple hours later, he was asleep and I went through his phone.
Ms. Davis admits she was in her feelings that day. "He was asleep, and I didn't wake him up," she says. Her reasoning? He'd texted friends. "Her name is Autumn Davis until we get a DNA test." Judge Lake cuts in. "So, you were mad and decided not to wake him up to sign the birth certificate?" Ms. Davis nods, whispering, "Yes, Your Honor." The whole gallery groans, because that choice, right there, set this entire chain reaction in motion.
And Mr. Cole, at some point, your name got on it.
Yeah, like 2 months after she was born, because my family had got in my head and...
Mr. Cole eventually did sign the birth certificate 2 months later after his family said, "That's your twin." He smiles, remembering it, but the peace didn't last. Ms. Davis posted a split-screen photo on social media. Baby Autumn between two men, asking people, "Who does she look like?" Judge Lake looks ready to combust. Where would you get the idea to take a poll about your child's paternity? The courtroom burst into awkward laughter. Even Mr. Cole looks embarrassed.
I was going around trying to get a DNA test.
But he had signed the birth certificate at this point, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he was legally Autumn's father.
Ms. Davis says she was just mad because Mr. Cole was telling people he had doubts. Judge Lake isn't having it. "You finally got a man to sign the birth certificate and then you go start drama," she scolds. "A lie ain't nothing but the long way to the truth." Ms. Davis nods, head bowed. This right here, this moment, is peak paternity court. A woman, a man, and one very messy path to the truth.
Hello, Ms. Davis. Thank you for joining us. You are Ms. Davis, Amber's twin sister, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and you're here to testify as to what you know.
Then enters Ashley, Miss Davis's twin sister. You can practically hear the audience murmur, "Uh-oh." Ashley shocks everyone. She says her sister admitted sleeping with another man 2 days before she was with Mr. Cole. Ms. Davis's face freezes. "I never said that," she blurts. Judge Lake raises her hand. Wait, 2 days before? The entire courtroom gasps. The timeline, the one Ms. Davis swore was airtight, just fell apart.
I remember her saying 2 days before she had sex with Adrian.
So if that's the case, the 2 days before you started having sex with Mr. Cole would have been...
Judge Lake breaks it down. So if that's true, 2 days before means around February 11th, that's within conception time. Ms. Davis stammers that her sister must have misunderstood, but Judge Lake presses, "Why would she come to court to make that up?" Ms. Davis has no answer. The silence is deafening. At this point, even the gallery looks uncomfortable. You can feel the truth closing in like a slow-moving train.
That's what you told me. I did not tell you that. Okay.
And Mr. Cole, let me be clear. Are you hoping you are Autumn's biological father?
Judge Lake resets the focus. Autumn knows Mr. Cole as her father, she says gently. She calls him Daddy. Ms. Davis agrees through tears. Judge Lake reminds Mr. Cole that legally, he's still the father since his name is on the certificate, regardless of biology. Mr. Cole's voice cracks as he admits, "I do love her. I didn't grow up with my dad." The whole room softens. It's heartbreaking. This man wants so badly to belong to this little girl.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Cole, You are not the father.
Cue the drum roll. DNA results in hand. Judge Lake reads slowly. In the case of Davis versus Cole, when it comes to 3-year-old Autumn, you could hear a pin drop. Mr. Cole, you are not the father. The air leaves the room. Ms. Davis's head drops instantly. Judge Lake's face is full of sorrow. The truth hurts, and this one cuts deep.
Would you like to finally just lay it on the line and tell the truth?
It's embarrassing. I thought he was the father.
This is one of these defining moments in your life, right?
Right.
From this moment forward, you can learn.
Ms. Davis breaks down. It hurts. It's embarrassing. I thought he was the father. Judge Lake, calm but firm, says, a lie ain't nothing but the long way to the truth. Then the final twist. Ms. Davis admits the real father is the same man who'd been messaging her, the one Mr. Cole suspected all along. Judge Lake tells him gently, you were right. Mr. Cole nods, tears welling up. I'm hurt, he says softly. The pain is visible, not just on his face, but in the silence that follows.